by going. Okay, so make sure you take advantage of that. I think there's only one more, maybe in March. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at this one. I am going to say the first thing that we're going to figure out is where is it increasing. I'm going to write that a little lower. So I'm going to put my sign chart there. We're going to do the whole list of stuff. Okay, so we're going to do increasing, decreasing, relative max, relative min. We're going to tell where it's concave. We're going to talk about the concavity. Okay. And I don't think I spelled that right. Not even close, huh? Concavity. And then we're going to talk about points of inflection. All right. And then maybe we'll talk about where it's both. Okay. Noelle, you do not have to attend both sessions to get extra credit. I do extra credit. I do like 50 points for the first session, 50 points for the second session. Okay. All right. So we're going to do all of those things. So first thing I need to know is I need to know that this is the derivative. So I'm going to label that as and tell you that it's f prime. Okay. I purposely didn't put anything on there because I wanted to ask the question about what you just thought when you saw the picture. Okay. I'm going to go to the double layer sign chart. Okay. Because I'm going to put a double layer sign chart on the test. All right. So that will be like when you see this graph, that'll be like the last question on this graph. All right. So it's going to be part of it. You're going to have to answer that. Okay. So we are going to look at, so let's draw our double layer sign chart. So I need to look at both zeros and maxes and mins. Okay. So what are my zeros? Can you tell me this? Just the zeros, not the horizontal tangents. I didn't mean to say maxes and mins. What are the zeros? Just zeros. List that in the chat for me. All right, we have a very clear understanding of what zeros are. Good job. Okay. Then I'm looking at horizontal tangents. So I'm looking at everywhere where I'd have a zero slope, which is technically also one of the zeros. We're going to call that one 1. This one's not so pretty though, is it, huh? That's like negative 2.5. This is, it's close enough to 1. We're going to call it 1. Okay. For lack of anything better, we'll call it 1. It will be hopefully explicit on the test. All right. I'm not going to try to trick you. And if it was like that and you were close, I would probably take it. So negative infinity, this first one I totally lost, was negative 3. Negative 3 to negative 2.5. I'm drawing fences every time I have one of these points. Negative 2.5 to negative 1. Negative 1 to 1. 1 to 2. And 2 to infinity. Okay. Whoa, what happened? I flipped somewhere. 20-minute review. That's what I wanted. Okay. Now, when I do the double layer thing, even though I'm kind of setting up, it's going to make our intervals a little bit different when we talk about increasing, decreasing. It's going to be a little bit, so just watch. Okay. So I want to talk about what's going on with f prime. I want to talk about what's going on with f double prime. And then how that relates to my original f. Okay. So when I'm looking at f prime, when I'm looking at the graph, do I want to look, when I'm examining it, do I look at whether the intervals or the graph is above, below, or increasing, decreasing? Okay. Yes, Marilyn, graphs like this will be on the test. I will 100% guarantee you'll see this on both my test and the AP test. Is that a good thing, I hope? I'm hoping everyone else is answering above, below, or increasing, decreasing. What do I need to look out for first derivative? That's what I'm looking for in the chat right now. All right. Seeing a few people, I'm waiting a little bit more. Okay, we are definitely doing above, below when we are looking at this part of the graph. Okay, so I'm starting above, so I'm positive, and that's up to the negative 3. In this chunk here, I'm below. In this chunk here, I'm still below, right? This is going to make one interval when I talk increasing, decreasing. I'm doing the double layer because of the last question I would ask, okay, which I don't have listed here yet, okay? All right, -1 is still below. All the way to 2 is below, and then I am above here from 2 to infinity. Okay, and if there's no arrows on it, if there's no dot, as long as there's no solid dots, you're gonna go to infinity. Okay. All right, now we're gonna look at second derivative. So let's get the whole chart filled out, and then we'll talk about the implications of it. So now I look at increasing, decreasing. So I am decreasing all the way to what looks like -2.5, which means I'm negative. Okay. I am then increasing all the way to -1. So I go positive to -1. From -1 to about 1, I am decreasing. So I go negative, and then everything else is increasing. So I go positive. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to put some extra highlights on the graph here. So I'm going to highlight where we had zeros. Okay, so my zeros were technically at -3, -1, and 2. Okay, so for increasing, decreasing, that's what I want to use as my intervals. Okay, so let's talk about increasing. F is increasing on my first interval that it's increasing would be this one right here, right? It's positive. So on -infinity to -3. The only other interval I'm increasing on is here. So and 2 to infinity. Because. So what do I write next? What comes after the because? Okay, I like F prime. Is there anything else I need to add in with the F prime? Yes, the parentheses would be brackets. Thank you. You guys are getting good at this. All right, F prime greater than 0. Good job, which means positive, right? Again, the explanation comes from that row. F prime greater than 0 is increasing because F prime is greater than 0 on these intervals. I asked last period if they liked, because it's like the drag and drop fill in the blanks is what I did on the review, or they wanted to type the whole sentence. So they told me that they wanted fill in the blanks. What do you guys want? Do you want fill in the blanks, or do you want to type the whole sentence yourself? Because we were talking, okay, all right, we will do fill in the blanks, okay? On the AP test, you got to write your own sentence. I don't give you a whole lot in the fill in the blanks, right? But because I give you like the word is and the word on, and you have to understand what goes in the rest of the blanks, okay? But I will give you the fill in the blanks, okay? It does make it easier for me to grade it, but you still need to show me your work, right? I expect to see this sign chart, not just blanks filled in, nothing written on your paper, okay? Even though I know the AP test won't grade the sign chart, I want to see your sign chart because I want to see your thinking, okay? All right, let's go decreasing. So F is decreasing on, okay, so here's where I did the yellow, okay? I'm decreasing technically from here to here between those zeros, right? With brackets, okay? And then from here to here with brackets, okay? It looks like I could just write it for the whole thing, or I could write it for those little chunks, but we're gonna wanna do between the zeros. Yes, I will number the paper and skip boxes, okay? Because I know you need more room for this, okay? And some of us like to write really big, all right? There's not going to be that many questions on the test, so we will have lots of space, I promise. Okay, so F is decreasing on brackets, right? -3 to -1 and -1 to 2 because F prime is less than 0 on these intervals. Period. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to do is I want to look for relative maxes and mins. So I'm going to do my little kind of work here. I know I'm going from increasing to decreasing, decreasing to decreasing, decreasing to decreasing, decreasing to decreasing, decreasing to increasing. All right, so at -3, do I have a relative max or relative min? You do not need to write the sentence on your paper. I just want to see the sign chart, Fallon. We'll go with the fill in the blanks on the test. Okay, and I'm sorry I didn't see that question earlier. All right, I've got a little bit all over the place so far. So at -3, remember I'm going increasing and decreasing. What did I just draw a picture of? Did I draw a picture of a max or did I draw a picture of a min? Okay, it's a peak, right? It's a mountaintop, right? If we get to the top of the mountain, we are at the top. So we are at a max right there. That one's a relative max. This one here is the valley, right? If we're sitting down there in that valley, we are at a relative min. All right, so let's write out the sentences for those two. So F has a relative max, I think max was first, right? At x equals -3 because, and you want to talk again about F prime. F prime changes is the word that has to go in there from positive to negative. You read it out of your chart. From positive to negative at this value. All right, let's write the min sentence. So F has a relative min at x equals, let's see, where's our min? 2, right? X equals 2 because F prime changes from, okay, and you got to go here, negative to positive. Read it out of the chart. Negative to positive at this value. I'll give you a minute to catch up. I know I'm about at the 20 minutes that I like to keep it on Wednesdays, but I'm going to keep going until we get through this one, okay? I would hang on if I were you, so you get the little bit of live review. And then you can go do the assignment. Okay. So now I'm down to concavity. So now I'm really looking at the second row here. Okay, I'm going to probably do my concavity work to the right here. So I'm now going to look at this row here. But remember, what I have originally is the F prime row. So I have to base most of my explanation off the F prime row. Okay. And I can do any of the intervals there. Okay. So I am looking for, so concavity. So I'm going to do concave down first. So F is concave down like a frown on. It looks like -infinity all the way to 2.5. And that's okay to do, okay, because that was technically where our 0 was on concavity. And let's see where else. From -1 to 1. And remember, I always use open on concavity. Because F prime, what do I write after F prime is? What's going on with F prime technically when we're concave down? I can put this up on my YouTube later, yes. Okay. As soon as I'm done with you, I will try to get it up there. Well, it takes about 20 minutes after class is over for it to actually appear for me. But I will try to get it up there. Okay, so what do we think? F prime is, what's actually happening for me to get negatives here? What's happening? What was happening in the picture? So we want to read it as it was increasing or decreasing, because remember, that's how I got to second derivative. That's what was going on with the first derivative. It was increasing or decreasing. So I'm not getting a lot of answers, and I got Noelle's question. Okay. So, and you're not going to say changes. You're just going to say because f prime is decreasing on these intervals. At least that's the way the fill in the blanks will look. There are other ways to explain it, okay? That's the way the fill in the blanks are going to work for my test, okay? F is concave up. And of course, on the actual AP test, we write out all of these words. We're working fast because we want to make sure we stick to our time frame here. All right. So I'm looking for the positive. So 2.5 to -1. So -2.5 to -1. And it looks like 1 to infinity. Because f prime is. So what comes after the word is this time? I want to hear from everybody this time. What comes after the word is? Ah, we knew what to do this time, right? Okay, good job. Is increasing on these intervals. Okay, perfect. All right, and then we're going to look at concavity. So concavity is where, I know I've got a lot of colors on there. I haven't used rainbow yet. I'll use rainbows to make it stand out. Okay, so anytime I get that sign switch, so I have a concavity change here, I've got a concavity change here, I've got a concavity change there. So there's 3 concavity changes. So there's 3 points of inflection. Okay, so let's see if I can zoom. Let's try it right here. F has a point of inflection at x equals -2.5, -1, and 1, because f prime changes, f prime changes from increasing to decreasing or decreasing to increasing at these values. Yes, except for the, so we can combine intervals if they have the same sign. Yes, except for on like that first one where we had the decrease, the negative for like 4 of it. Does that make sense? You had to break it at the zeros on the increasing, decreasing ones. Does that make sense, Marilyn? Did I explain that well enough? Okay, perfect. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to see, because that was what covered all the questions, is like a double up. Okay, so the last question I'm going to ask on this is something like, where is f both, and this is why we need the double layer. What am I seeing? Let's see if I've got a couple of them. Both decreasing and concave up. And this is where the double layer sign chart is like our best friend. Okay, I'm going to do this in orange, and I know I've totally scribbled all over everything. So I'm looking for negative in the first row and positive in the second row. Right in those two. Okay, so I would say, and I don't, sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. So f is decreasing and concave up on, and you can always use parentheses on this. Yes, Sean, this is one problem, but there's only going to be like 2 or 3 problems on the entire test, maybe 4. And this is, I'm only going to do this stuff to you one time. Does that sound good? Because if you can get this one problem down, all right? Yeah, I'm not making like a 20 question test of this, right? This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions all in one, right? Okay, but I want you to experience that because this is what the free response piece is going to be like when it comes to May. Okay. All right, f is decreasing and concave up on, and then we're going to want to list -2.5 to 1 and 1 to 2, because f prime, let's see, decreasing would be less than 0, and f prime is increasing, right? On these intervals. Oh, I got an erase. Erase. Intervals. Period. Okay. We good? All right. That's where I'm going to stop. The rest of it, go make sure you do the study guide. It looks very, very, very similar to the test. Okay? You want to make sure you do that before we take the test tomorrow. Okay? And not just the hour before. Do it today. Do it today at least once, if not twice. Okay? Please don't be scared, Marilyn. You've got this. Okay? You don't need to be scared. Okay? This isn't that bad. There was no algebra involved in the entire problem, right? Which is why calculus is great, because we can do this part without algebra, right? So it's when we get that icky algebra in there that calculus becomes hard. This isn't hard. It's tedious, right? It's super tedious, okay? And it's long, right? It's kind of taxing because it's long, but it wasn't hard, okay? We had to understand, we had to do some plus and minus signs. That was the most math we did in there, right? And we had to explain stuff, okay? And it's literally going to be drag and drop into sentences, right? We can all handle that, all right? Pretty much the work you're going to need is the sign chart, yeah. Is it going to have a really long time limit again? Not as long as the last one, probably, because there's going to be fewer questions, okay? I try to gauge it. Like, this would be kind of, if I did this whole thing, this would be about 1.5 free response questions. So I'd probably give you about 20 to 25 minutes for this question. Okay, does that make sense for this question? And then when I add the absolute max min one, I'd probably give you another like 7 to 8 minutes for that. Okay. What goes on F for the sign chart? Oh, I didn't even talk about it, did I? Boy, oh boy. We just went into the explanations, didn't we? So the F, we would see what this would be, increasing concave down, decreasing concave down, decreasing concave up, decreasing concave down, increasing concave, or sorry, decreasing. That says decreasing concave up and increasing concave up. Okay.